000 to 045. January 24, 1943. The Emerald Waters of Victoria Bay, New Guinea. A United States Navy submarine, the USS Wahoo, lies submerged, a silent hunter in enemy territory. Above, a Japanese destroyer, the Harusame, cuts through the water, its formidable silhouette growing larger with every passing second. Lieutenant Commander Dudley Morton, the Wahoo's commanding officer, watches through the periscope, his jaw set. He has just fired 3 torpedoes, and they have missed. Now, the enemy warship is turning, heading directly for his boat, its propellers churning a menacing path. The Wahoo is exposed, its position betrayed by the torpedo wakes. With only 1 torpedo remaining in the forward tubes, and the destroyer closing at a terrifying speed of 800 yards, Morton faces an impossible choice: dive deep and hope to evade, or attempt a shot so audacious, so risky, it could either secure victory or guarantee their destruction. Can a single, desperate torpedo, fired down the throat of an oncoming warship, turn the tide of battle? Or is it a suicidal gamble in the heart of the enemy's lair? 0:45 to 3 o'clock. The year is 1943. World War II rages across the Pacific, a vast theater of brutal conflict where naval power dictates destiny. For American submariners, the early war years have been a period of profound frustration. Their torpedoes, the Mark 14, are notoriously unreliable, often running too deep, failing to detonate, or simply missing their targets. This systemic flaw, combined with a cautious command philosophy, has crippled the effectiveness of the U.S. submarine fleet. Patrols are often long, tense, and ultimately fruitless, leading to low morale and a growing sense of futility among the crews. Into this climate steps Lieutenant Commander Dudley Morton. Born in Owensboro, Kentucky, in 1907, Morton is a graduate of the U.S. Naval Academy, known for his robust physique and a distinctive jaw that earned him the nickname, Mush. He is a man of unconventional thought, a leader who chafes against rigid doctrine. Prior to taking command of the USS Wahoo, Morton served as executive officer on its second war patrol, witnessing firsthand the frustrations of a hesitant captain and the demoralizing impact of ineffective torpedoes. The Wahoo itself has a less than stellar record, its first 2 patrols marked by missed opportunities and an inability to inflict significant damage on the enemy. Morton understands the profound psychological toll this takes on a crew. He sees the potential in the Wahoo, but he also recognizes the need for a radical shift in approach. He believes that victory in the Pacific will not be achieved through caution, but through aggressive, relentless offense. He is an underdog, inheriting a boat struggling with its identity and a service grappling with fundamental flaws. But Morton possesses an unshakable belief in his crew and a daring vision for submarine warfare that will soon redefine the very meaning of success beneath the waves. 3 o'clock to 8 o'clock. The skepticism surrounding American submarine warfare in early 1943 is pervasive, extending from the highest echelons of command down to the sailors themselves. Many senior officers, steeped in decades of conservative doctrine, view submarines primarily as defensive assets, scouts, or occasional raiders, not as frontline instruments of destruction. The prevailing wisdom dictates caution. Avoid unnecessary risks, preserve the boat, and engage only when conditions are overwhelmingly favorable. This mindset, combined with the deeply entrenched flaws of the Mark 14 torpedo, creates an environment where aggressive tactics are not only discouraged but often seen as reckless. No one truly believed a single submarine could, or should, operate with the audacity Morton envisioned. They were all wrong. The Wahoo's previous commander, Lieutenant Commander Marvin G. Kennedy, exemplified this cautious approach. His patrols, while adhering to established protocols, yielded meager results, leaving the crew disheartened and questioning their purpose. Morton, observing as prospective commanding officer on the Wahoo's second patrol, witnessed this demoralization firsthand. He understood that the problem wasn't merely technical, it was also psychological. The crew had lost faith, not just in their equipment, but in the aggressive potential of their own vessel. Morton's challenge is immense. He must not only overcome the technical limitations of his weapons but also dismantle years of ingrained caution and rebuild the fighting spirit of his men. The odds against him are staggering. Japanese anti-submarine warfare, though still developing, is a constant threat. Their destroyers are fast, their depth charges lethal. Operating in enemy-controlled waters, often without accurate charts, is a perilous endeavor. The very idea of penetrating a heavily defended harbor, as Morton intends, is considered suicidal by many. On December 31, 1942, in Brisbane, Australia, Morton officially takes command of the USS Wahoo. He gathers his crew and delivers a speech that shatters the prevailing orthodoxy. His words are direct, uncompromising, and revolutionary. Wahoo is expendable, he declares. We will take every reasonable precaution, but our mission is to sink enemy shipping. Now, if anyone doesn't want to go along under these conditions, just see the yeoman. I am giving him verbal authority now to transfer anyone who is not a volunteer. Nothing will. It is a stark challenge, a clear statement of intent. The silence that follows is thick with anticipation. Not a single man steps forward to request a transfer. Morton has drawn a line in the sand, and his crew, weary of futility, chooses to cross it with him. They are ready to trade caution for aggression, to embrace the risks that Morton promises. The Wahoo, once a symbol of frustration, is about to become an instrument of audacious warfare. 8:32:00. The Wahoo, under Morton's command, departs Brisbane, Australia, on January 16, 1943, for its third war patrol. The mission orders are clear. Reconnoiter WWII, a Japanese supply base on the northern coast of New Guinea, and then proceed to patrol the waters beyond. Morton's interpretation of reconnoiter, however, is far from conventional. To the amazement of his crew, he intends to penetrate the harbor and engage any enemy ships found within. This audacious plan is made even more perilous by a significant logistical oversight. The Wahoo lacks official charts of WWII harbor. Resourcefulness saves the day when a motor machinist's mate produces a cheap school atlas he purchased in Australia, featuring a small, rudimentary map of New Guinea with an indentation labeled WWII. Using this unlikely reference, Morton and his officers painstakingly create a blown-up chart, a testament to their determination to execute the mission. 3 days later, on January 19, the Wahoo passes into the Vitiaz Strait, steaming toward its patrol area. The journey is marked by intensive training, with the crew conducting continuous diving drills, fire control exercises, and battle surface practice, honing their skills for the aggressive encounters Morton anticipates. The atmosphere on board is electric, a stark contrast to the previous patrols. Morton's executive officer, Lieutenant Richard H. O'Kane, a keen and analytical officer, is a crucial partner in this transformation. Morton, in an innovative move, places O'Kane at the periscope during attacks, freeing himself to focus on the broader tactical picture and the intricate maneuvers of the submarine. This delegation of responsibility, unheard of in the conservative submarine service, amplifies the Wahoo's efficiency and lethality. The morning of January 24 dawns, and the Wahoo is positioned 2 nautical miles north of Kairouan Island. Morton orders the boat to dive and proceed around the western end of the island, initiating the penetration of Victoria Bay, where WWII harbor is located. The tension inside the submarine is palpable. Every man is acutely aware of the risk involved in entering enemy waters, particularly a harbor that could be laced with mines or heavily defended by anti-submarine nets. Through the periscope, O'Kane spots the unmistakable outline of a Japanese Shiratsuyu-class destroyer, the Harusame, along with several smaller RO-class submarines nested alongside. The destroyer is clearly getting underway, its engines beginning to churn. Morton seizes the moment, ordering a spread of 3 torpedoes fired at the moving target from a range of 1,200 yards. The crew braces for impact, but the agonizing seconds tick by without the expected explosions. O'Kane reports the torpedoes missing aft, passing harmlessly behind the rapidly moving destroyer. The Harusame, alerted by the telltale wakes of the steam torpedoes, immediately turns, completing a full 270-degree circle and heading directly for the Wahoo. The destroyer's intent is clear: to ram or to unleash a devastating pattern of depth charges. The Wahoo's position is dangerously compromised. With the enemy bearing down, Morton orders another torpedo fired, but the Harusame skillfully evades it, continuing its charge. The destroyer's screws are now roaring through the Wahoo's hull, an ominous sound that fills the submarine with vibrating menace. Morton remains remarkably calm. He understands that with the destroyer closing so rapidly, diving deeper might not offer escape. It could merely delay the inevitable. Instead, he decides on a desperate, unprecedented maneuver. He holds the Wahoo's bow pointed directly at the oncoming enemy, delaying the firing of his last bow torpedo until the Harusame is within a terrifying 800 yards. "That's all right," Morton's voice cuts through the tension. "Keep your scope up and we'll shoot that sob down the throat." This down-the-throat shot, firing directly at the bow of an oncoming ship, is a move rarely attempted due to its extreme difficulty and the high risk involved. Yet, Morton believes it is their only chance. The Wahoo's forward torpedo tube door opens, water rushes in, and with a hiss of compressed air, the Mark 14 torpedo launches. The crew holds its breath, listening intently. The destroyer's propellers grow deafeningly loud, vibrating through the submarine's hull. Men brace themselves for the expected depth charges. Then, a thunderous roar rips through the water, followed by a violent cracking sound, as if the Wahoo itself is being torn apart. The cracking quickly turns to a distinct crackling, a sound that veteran submariners instantly recognize. The unmistakable hiss of steam escaping into the sea, amplified a million times. "We hit the son of a bitch." Shouts ring out from the fire control party, echoing throughout the boat. The destroyer's boilers are belching steam, a clear sign of a catastrophic hit. Morton reports in his patrol log that the torpedo broke his back, and that the explosion was terrific. He observes through the periscope that the Harusame's bow is settling fast, its deck swarming with over 100 Japanese lookouts and crew members. He captures periscope photographs of the crippled warship. Despite Morton's conviction that he has sunk the destroyer, post-war analysis by the Joint Army-Navy Assessment Committee (JANAC) would later reveal that the Harusame, though severely damaged and forced to beach itself, was eventually refloated, repaired, and returned to service. Regardless, the daring, down-the-throat attack in Wewak Harbor electrifies the Wahoo's crew and sends a clear message of Morton's aggressive philosophy. The Wahoo has successfully penetrated an enemy harbor, inflicted damage on a warship, and escaped unscathed, a feat previously thought impossible. The submarine then withdraws, executing a submerged egress using dead reckoning and passive sonar for a distance of 7 miles at 3 knots. With the immediate danger behind them, the Wahoo sets a new course for Palau, a key Japanese staging area. On January 26, the crew spots the telltale smoke of 2 freighters on the horizon. Morton orders an immediate approach. He maneuvers the Wahoo into an attack position and fires 2 torpedoes at the leading ship, followed 17 seconds later by 2 more at the second freighter. Both initial spreads find their mark, hitting the targets in the bow and stern. One freighter is seen sinking rapidly. The second freighter, identified as the Buyo Maru, a 5,300-ton transport, takes multiple hits but remains stubbornly afloat. Morton, ever aggressive, decides to surface and finish the job with the deck gun. The Wahoo breaches the surface, its 3-inch deck gun roaring to life. The crew pours rounds into the crippled transport, but even with sustained shelling, the ship refuses to go down easily. The engagement drags on for hours, a testament to the Buyo Maru's resilience. During this extended attack, Morton observes a large number of survivors in lifeboats. Believing them to be solely Japanese soldiers, and fearing they could reach New Guinea to rejoin enemy forces, Morton makes a controversial decision. He orders the deck guns turned on the lifeboats. His executive officer, Richard O'Kane, later recounts that Morton's intent was to force the Japanese troops to abandon the boats, not to target individuals, and that the Japanese survivors returned fire. Post-war accounts reveal that many of the survivors were, in fact, Indian prisoners of war from the 2nd Battalion, 16th Punjab Regiment, being transported by the Japanese. This incident would later cast a shadow on Morton's otherwise celebrated career. After a prolonged struggle, the Buyo Maru finally succumbs, sinking beneath the waves. The Wahoo is credited with 3 sinkings on January 26 by Yanak. The Buyo Maru, 5,300 tons. The Fukue Maru, 2,000 tons. And an unknown Maru, 4,000 tons. However, Morton's patrol report at the time indicates a more extensive engagement. The hunt continues. Morton's definition of a patrol is a relentless pursuit of enemy shipping. He keeps the Wahoo on the surface whenever possible, utilizing additional lookouts on the bridge to maximize his chances of spotting targets. This unconventional tactic allows for higher speeds and quicker repositioning, but it also exposes the submarine to aerial threats. Later that same day, January 26, He Wahoo spots smoke again, this time, an entire convoy. Morton identifies 3 freighters. He attacks with a combination of torpedoes and deck gunfire, sinking 2 of them and severely damaging a third. The damaged freighter, however, manages to escape, limping away. Morton, unwilling to let any enemy ship escape, gives chase. By 3 p.m., the Wahoo has caught up to the wounded transport, which is now accompanied by a tanker. Morton quickly dispatches the 6,515-ton oiler Manziu Maru with torpedoes. As he turns to finish off the damaged freighter, a Japanese destroyer suddenly appears, charging in from the port side. The Wahoo is once again in a perilous situation, caught between multiple targets and an aggressive escort. Morton dives deep, but his tactical mind is already working. He correctly anticipates the transport's escape route and angles the Wahoo to intercept it, moving away from the charging destroyer. The submarine surfaces just as the target crosses astern, approximately 3,000 yards away. Morton guides the aft torpedo room crew, preparing their last 2 torpedoes. After 3 tense minutes, both torpedoes strike home, sending the 9,684-ton troop transport Arizona Maru, laden with infantry reinforcements, to the bottom. This 14-hour rampage, spanning January 26 and into the early hours of January 27, results in Morton believing he has sunk 4 vessels totaling 30,557 tons. Counting the destroyer he thought he sank earlier, his tally for the patrol stands at 5 kills before even reaching the broader designated patrol zone. The Wahoo has expended all its torpedoes. The exhaustion on board is immense, but it is overshadowed by an unprecedented sense of exhilaration. The crew, once demoralized, is now a cohesive, aggressive fighting force, unified by Morton's daring leadership and their shared successes. They have faced overwhelming odds, endured depth charge attacks, and emerged victorious. On January 27, with torpedoes expended, the Wahoo attempts to make contact with another convoy of 8 ships, including 2 freighters and a tanker. However, a persistent destroyer escort foils any attempt to gain an attack position, dropping 6 depth charges that force the Wahoo to retreat. Morton, out of torpedoes, has no option but to disengage. Later that day, the Wahoo sights Fay Island. Morton, always looking for an opportunity to inflict damage, considers shelling a phosphate refinery on the island. However, the unexpected appearance of an inter-island steamer forces him to scrap the plan, prioritizing the safety of his unarmed submarine. With their mission accomplished and their torpedo tubes empty, Morton sets a course for Pearl Harbor. The journey back is filled with a sense of triumph. That evening, the jubilant crew receives a wireless message directly from Admiral William Halsey, congratulating them on their extraordinary success. The message is a rare and powerful acknowledgement of their achievements, boosting morale even further. On February 7, 1943, after just 24 days at sea, the briefest completed wartime patrol ever made by an American submarine at that point. The USS Wahoo docks at Pearl Harbor. The welcome is nothing short of heroic. The Wahoo, once an unremarked vessel, returns a legend. 32:0038:00. The air inside the Wahoo is thick with the metallic tang of diesel fuel and the sweat of men. It is the afternoon of January 24, 1943, and the submarine is deep within Victoria Bay, off New Guinea. Morton, his face grim, is glued to the periscope. His first 3 torpedoes, fired at the Japanese destroyer Harusame, have missed. They have left visible wakes, a deadly trail leading directly to the Wahoo's submerged position. Now, the destroyer is turning, its bow swinging to point directly at them. The rapid thrum of its propellers grows louder, a vibrating menace that resonates through the Wahoo's hull. "She's coming for us, Captain." O'Kane's voice is steady, but the urgency is clear. "Range?" Morton asks, his eyes fixed on the target, adjusting the periscope height. "Closing fast, sir. 800 yards and shrinking." The destroyer is a gray blur, its menacing silhouette filling the periscope's view. The sound of its propellers is now a deafening roar, shaking the Wahoo, rattling gauges, and vibrating through the deck plates. Every man in the control room holds his breath, eyes fixed on their captain, their lives hanging on his next command. The conventional wisdom screams to dive, to run, to evade. But Morton is not a man of convention. He lowers the periscope for a moment, scanning the faces of his crew. Fear is etched on some, but determination on most. He knows this is a desperate gamble, but he also knows that evasion might be impossible in these shallow waters, with the IR position already compromised. "Battle stations, torpedo," he barks, his voice cutting through the tension with surprising calm. "Last bow tube, stand by to fire." A chorus of, aye, sir," echoes through the cramped space. The torpedomen in the forward compartment are already moving with practiced precision, their movements economical and swift. The last Mark 14 is ready. Morton raises the periscope again. The destroyer is closer still, its bow wave now visible, a white V slicing through the water. He can almost make out the figures on its bridge. The range is now terrifyingly close, perhaps 750 yards. He holds his breath, waiting, pushing the envelope of acceptable risk. Target bearing 000, speed 30 knots, angle on the bow 0. O'Kane calls out the data, his voice a precise monotone despite the chaos. Morton's hand hovers over the firing button. He visualizes the torpedo's path, the destroyer's trajectory, the precise moment of impact. This is the down-the-throat shot, a head-on engagement, a fight to the death. The destroyer's props are a thunderous cacophony, filling the Wahoo. "Fire!" Morton yells, slamming his hand down. A muffled thud, then the distinct whoosh of compressed air. The Wahoo shudders slightly as the torpedo ejects, streaking towards its target. Time slows to an agonizing crawl. Every man strains to hear, to feel the impact. The destroyer is almost on top of them, its shadow darkening the waters above. Men brace for the inevitable depth charges, for the crushing force of a ramming attack. Then, a colossal, earth-shattering explosion rips through the water. The Wahoo rocks violently, men are thrown off their feet, lights flicker, and a cascade of sweat and condensation rains down from the pipes. A deafening roar, followed by a series of cracking, groaning sounds, fills the boat. It is the sound of metal tearing, of boilers exploding. "We hit him! We hit the son of a bitch!" The shouts erupt spontaneously, a wave of raw, primal elation washing over the crew. Morton quickly swings the periscope. The Harusame is no longer charging. Its bow is settling rapidly, a massive column of steam and black smoke billowing from its midsection. Men can be seen scrambling on its deck, some jumping into the water. The destroyer is broken, its back snapped. The impossible shot has found its mark. The Wahoo has defied death, and in doing so, has dealt a crippling blow to the enemy. 38:00 end. The USS Wahoo's third war patrol, under the command of Lieutenant Commander Dudley Morton, marked a profound turning point in American submarine warfare. His aggressive tactics and audacious leadership shattered the cautious doctrine that had long hampered the U.S. submarine fleet. Morton's philosophy, articulated in his pre-patrol speech, instilled a new, offensive mindset in his crew. Wahoo is expendable. Our mission is to sink enemy shipping. This ethos transformed the Wahoo from a vessel of frustration into a one-boat wolf pack, a symbol of relentless destruction against Japanese shipping. For his extraordinary heroism during this patrol, Morton was awarded the Navy Cross, and General Douglas MacArthur personally presented him with the Army Distinguished Service Cross, an exceptionally rare honor for a naval officer. The Wahoo and its crew also received a Presidential Unit Citation, recognizing their unparalleled achievements. Morton's innovative approach, particularly his delegation of periscope duties to his executive officer, Richard O'Kane, allowed him to maintain a broader tactical awareness during engagements, optimizing the Wahoo's attack efficiency. This partnership proved exceptionally fruitful, and O'Kane himself would later become one of the most successful submarine commanders of the war, leading the USS Tang with similar daring and precision. While the initial claim of sinking the Harusame destroyer was later revised by post-war assessments, which confirmed it was severely damaged but repaired, Morton's actions in Wewak Harbor still demonstrated an unprecedented level of aggression and skill. The confirmed sinkings during the third patrol, including the Buyo Maru, Fukue Maru, and another unidentified Maru, totaling 11,300 tons, were a significant blow to Japanese logistics. The patrol, lasting only 24 days, established a new benchmark for efficiency and lethality. Dudley Morton would go on to command the Wahoo for a total of 5 war patrols, sinking 19 Japanese ships for approximately 55,000 tons of enemy shipping, making him one of the top 3 submarine skippers of World War II. His daring penetration of Japanese home waters, his willingness to engage targets aggressively, and his unwavering focus on sinking enemy vessels profoundly influenced future submarine doctrine. He demonstrated that American submarines, despite early technical challenges, could be a decisive force in strangling Japan's war machine. Tragically, Morton and the entire crew of the USS Wahoo were lost in October 1943 during their 7th war patrol, sunk by Japanese aircraft and anti-submarine forces while exiting the Sea of Japan. Their sacrifice, however, was not in vain. The legacy of Morton and the Wahoo endures as a testament to courage, innovation, and the transformative power of leadership in the darkest days of war. They proved that even in the face of overwhelming odds and systemic failures, a single, determined crew could redefine what was possible beneath the waves, paving the way for eventual Allied victory in the Pacific. If this story moved you, subscribe. New forgotten stories every week. Which moment surprised you most? Comment below. Character count, approximate, excluding CTA, approximately 700 characters. 1800 characters. Approximately 3,800 characters. Approximately 15,500 characters. Approximately 3,800 characters. Approximately 4,000 characters. Total. Approximately 29,600 characters.